first 3 quarters. Against the Clippers in a must-win game, he had 24 points. And then Steph, I believe, had like 18 in the fourth. And then against Memphis in the last game, it was Jimmy with like 34 through the first 3 quarters. And then Steph taking over in the end in the fourth quarter. Really what Jimmy's able to do is kind of help Steph stay fresh for that fourth quarter. And that's going to be a must against Houston. The last time they faced Houston, it was very clear the Rockets went out, and to maybe quote a Batman villain, as Jimmy Butler would say, they were like Bane. They just went out to try to punish Steph Curry. He basically had 3 points, 1 for 10. Now, I will say, I'm not going to make excuses for the Warriors, but that game was at the end of a 4 games and 6 nights. They had just gotten back from a 2-week trip on the road, so they were tired and exhausted. But you know, with Thompson, with Brooks, they're going to throw guys consistently at Steph and try to beat him up. They're going to need Jimmy to kind of be what he did in those first 2 games and really give them a boost in those first 3 quarters.
Yeah, the non-Steph minutes, right? That's always something throughout his tenure really in Golden State that we've talked about, and Jimmy Butler has certainly helped with that. But something we've talked about on set is whether or not Jonathan Kuminga, who we did not see play in those play-in games, is someone that maybe Steve Kerr could go to in this series. What have you heard on that front?
So Jonathan Kuminga had a DNP in the 2 biggest games of the year for the Warriors, and really Steve Kerr has just said he's tried to shorten his rotation and go back to what was working when, unfortunately, Kuminga was out. The Warriors played their best basketball. It's kind of become a little bit of a sensitive subject. Steph Curry kind of bristled a couple weeks ago when people were asking how Kuminga's looking. He said, this is like the only guy that we ever ask, whenever he has a good game or bad game, how did he look? And Steve Kerr kind of bristled too, and he was asked the other day, have you talked to Jonathan Kuminga after not playing him? He said, no, and that was it. That was the answer. But Kuminga's had some of his best games this season against the Houston Rockets, including a 33-point outing against them.
Right.
They might be able to use him in this series because he is their one athletic young guy who perhaps can match some of the young athletic guys on that other side.
And we do know that Steve Kerr, he does have a tendency to go to certain guys for certain matchups and not play them in the series and then go back to a different guy in another series. It's very matchup dependent. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see Kuminga at some point in this series. He just has to, as UD always says, stay engaged with this group, which can be an incredibly tall task for a young player. Okay, there's a couple other Western Conference series I want to get to here, because other than the Warriors and the Rockets, we know that the Wolves, they'll take on the Lakers. Our Brian Windhorst has said that this Clippers-Nuggets series, it may be one of the most interesting out of all of them. So let's go in the bonus on that matchup, because it is sure to be a close one here. Let's start with Nikola Jokic. He heads into the series off another stellar season, one that may have been his best yet. He's averaged a triple-double for the first time in his career, making him the 3rd player to do so, joining Oscar Robertson and his teammate Russell Westbrook. As for the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard has played well heading into the postseason. We know Kawhi, he raises his game in the playoffs. Since joining the Clippers, he averages over 28 per game in the playoffs, 7th best in the NBA since 2020. Now, another matchup to keep an eye on here is actually on the sidelines. Ty Lue is a championship coach, has over 700 games of experience under his belt, while David Adelman, making his playoff debut, only has coached 3 games in his career to this point. So this UD is certainly going to be a little bit of a chess match here. We should break it down, but especially the battle of the big men here. What are you watching?
Something that is very rare in today's NBA. I think this series is going to come down to the bigs. So I'm watching Big Zoo go against Big Joker right here. So right now I'm looking at this matchup, and we watch what Zoo covers. He zones this pick and roll right now with Westbrook. It's a deep zone because Westbrook's not a shooter. Helps James on the drive and covers 16 feet to stop the shot and stay in the play. This is very, very underrated for a 7-foot, almost 300-pound guy, and contest the shot without fouling right here. This is why he's one of my guys that I can say can really be Defensive Player of the Year. Now we come down to the second clip. Joker on Zubac. Nobody in the league can guard this one-on-one. 99% of the guys in the league will need help here. This is one-on-one, man-on-man, mano-a-mano. He matches Joker's strength, he matches Joker's size, and he also has the mobility to stand in front of Joker and contest every shot. I think this is going to be a very interesting matchup. Joker obviously had a hell of a year, but I think Zubac could propose some problems for him in this series.
Right, and to your point, I mean, being successful against Nikola Jokic, it's really kind of a matter of degrees, but you could say that no one has had more success guarding Nikola than Big Zoo here. He's defended him the second most of any player in the league since 2016. He's also held Jokic to his lowest field field goal percentage against any defender during that time. So you're absolutely right. This is one of the matchups to watch here. But according to ESPN Bet, the Clippers, they are the slightest of favorites in this one, despite not having home court advantage. Why do you think that is, Brian?
They're not favorites. There's not a favorite in this series. It's a complete toss-up. Honestly, this is as hard of a series as I can think of trying to read in the first round in a long time, because there's just no way that the Clippers are a 5 seed. I reject the premise that they're a 5 seed, because they went 18-3. They have 2 Hall of Famers in their starting lineup who are playing very well. Zubac is playing the best basketball of his career. They have excellent coaching, and they're going up against a team that, when Jamal Murray and Jokic are healthy, are pretty much unbeatable. And if you are going to beat them, it's going to take a Herculean effort. Honestly, I'd like to just sort of say that the team that might win, who's got the healthier player? Will Kawhi Leonard be healthy all the way through this series? Will Jamal Murray be healthy all the way through this series? Kawhi, unfortunately, has not finished the first round in the last 2 years. So I don't want to make an assumption, but I can hope. Jamal has, fought injuries throughout this entire year, but when he's been at his best, they've been hard to beat. So honestly, analyzing this series is very, very difficult. I just kind of want to watch it.
Absolutely. And one of the players that we haven't mentioned that I know we all want to see in this postseason is also James Harden. You cover the Clippers very closely. What have you seen from Harden this year?
In talking to Clippers people, the one thing they talk about, really, besides his play this season, and remember, he kept the Clippers together when Kawhi Leonard was out for the first 2+ months, really got Norm Powell going, and you have to credit a lot of what Zubac is doing to James Harden. They've worked a lot of hours off the court with their pick and rolls. James Harden has taken a leadership role behind the scenes. From when I talked to a lot of Clippers sources, he's gotten the team together for numerous hours. Play better. He's averaged 26 points, 10 assists, 6 rebounds, 40% three-point shooting in the month of April. You saw him hit 2 huge threes at the start of overtime in that must-win game over the Warriors. If he does that in the playoffs, the Clippers are going to be really tough to beat, because remember, he wants to erase some of these bad playoff moments he's had. He went 1 for 13 in the final 2 losses to Dallas last year in the first round. James Harden is going to be motivated to erase that bad taste out of his mouth.
And I think something that's underrated is James' leadership. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can have good coaching, you can have talent, but if you don't have the right leadership, I think you don't get anywhere. So we have to give him credit for being a leader. But what Kawhi has been able to do, if he's able to emulate that 2019 run, I know we're saying he has to be healthy, but if he's able to emulate that, I'm going with the Clippers. Well,
and, you mentioned the two-man game between James Harden and Zubac. You talk about Jokic of game ones for you on ESPN and ABC. You see a 4-5 matchup, the Bucks, the Pacers, that's at 1 Eastern, the Clippers, the Nuggets, the Pistons, the Knicks, and then the Lakers, they host the Timberwolves. Our coverage begins with NBA Countdown. Still to come on NBA Today, are we about to start a, bad boy reboot here? An exclusive interview with Cade Cunningham. He compares eras in Detroit ahead of